How's it going? Good. How you doing? Good. How are you guys? Good. We're on the way up, fellas. Let's go. Let's do that about our
One more thing for you tonight.
She was making fun about it. Don't say that. Say,
Hey guys, we're joined by Elegance and
Howdy. Kevin, go first.
So you are in control of your own destiny. That's everyone's goal, right? To get to this point and
Sure.
be in control of what you can accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like from day one we've been in control of our destiny. But for us, the process, continue to grow, get better, and now you're at the stage of the season where really things are about results as well. I think over the last 9 games, we found a reasonable amount of just consistency, and now it's just coming down to execution, right? It's taking our chances when we create those chances, being solid on the defensive end, which is all 11 guys again, and now it's just executing for 90 minutes and taking care of our business. So we have obviously an important match this weekend that can define the next step. But for us, we're trying to look also what's ahead of us and the opportunities that might be ahead of us in terms of positioning and all that stuff. But right now we're just focusing on RSL.
Because last year, if you remember, at this point, there was scoreboard watching. There was having to do some math to figure it out. It's right there. And you had said earlier that the last 10 games of the season, that's when the season starts. And the last 10 games, you guys have been really incredible.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think with every season, you kind of want to hang on the balance of every game, but really every season is a journey, it's a process. You're trying to grow, you're trying to improve. Some of that is inside the team, some of that is what can you do inside the transfer windows, of which we had a really good summer. So there's a lot of things that can happen over the course of a season, but ultimately you do want to be finding your form as you get down the stretch. The first part of the season is make sure you don't take yourself out of the equation. And if you're lucky enough to be a team that's competing for Supporter Shield, then that's great too. But most of the teams are trying to find the best possible form as they go down the final 10 games, get results, and enter the tournament, which is the playoffs, in your best form with the right confidence, with the right momentum. And so we've had a good stretch, as you've said, but we still have the 2 most important games in front of us, starting with RSL this weekend is the most important game we've had all season. And so it's about continuing to perform and execute in this match. And I know we'll have a great crowd. It's going to be a packed house, and everybody's there to see one thing in particular, which is us to make that next step into the playoffs. But for us as a group, we need to concentrate on the moment and the performance and making sure we make every play inside of the game, and that's what we just continue to try to focus on.
Your thoughts on Real Salt Lake?
Yeah, look, they're a dangerous team. Every team right now at this time of year is dangerous, even whether they're in the playoffs, out of the playoffs, especially teams that are right on the cusp, because at any point in the game they can throw whatever they want at the situation. They can approach this game whatever way they feel. These are the moments in the season where you just have to kind of be ready for everything, and you have to be focused on your individual and collective performance. But again, they're a team that's dangerous. They can be stingy in terms of conceding goals, and they've got guys that are dangerous. Cordovas, Miram has always given us a tough time. Savarino, these guys they're dangerous players. They've not been on their smoothest of form, but at the same time, that doesn't mean anything really. In some instances, when you get into these kind of one-offs where teams are playing for their future, so we got to stay disciplined. We got to stay attentive, and we've got to put the game in our vision and try to execute upon that.
We saw Julian on the side today. What's the status for Saturday?
Yeah, he'll be fine. Just a little bit of picked up a little bit of a knock yesterday, so today is kind of a day where we manage everybody accordingly. You saw a couple guys who were also out just coming back from international duty. So today is a little bit of a management day, so we were managing him, but he'll be fine by the weekend.
Greg, you guys are finishing out the season, pretty strong. What have you learned from this club from the start of the season? Because there's been some bumps in the road.
Yeah, a big part of it for us is as you continue to build a roster and build a team, it's getting guys who fit your positions, who fit your style of play, who are comfortable inside of the setting. Also getting a group that's really connected to each other, that's communicating, organizing, adapting inside of it. So some of it's on that side. Some of it is just as a group, it's learning how to be consistent and win games on a consistent basis, win the games that are big games or feel like big games where you can maybe take a step forward. So these are things just inside of the group that we've been working towards this year. Again, it's that consistency part. So this last stretch of games, we've had solid consistency, and that's the first step. And now can we take consistency and keep improving our performances and try to find our highest level, and that's the search for us right now.
Brugman scored an amazing goal. You have players like Ricky's also scored outside of the 18. Talk about how that helps your offense when players like that can score goals.
Yeah, look, I've been saying since off season, then in the approach to the summer, for us, we needed to strengthen our midfield. It was about getting a number 6, which Brugman has really kind of solved that for us. Him scoring goals is a bonus, which he's certainly capable of doing, but that's a bonus. It was getting a guy like Ricky who can help do something a little bit different inside of our midfield on the run and being slippery. Through some of our more difficult stretches in the season, we were missing midfielders. Guys were injured, guys had knocks. We were, based on our way of playing, we need to have our midfield in there and ready to go. And we've certainly improved upon our midfield over the course of the summer, but also the guys are finding a rhythm and finding each other. And that helps us, that's helped our consistency for sure. And so having Gaston and his maturity and the way he helps kind of dictate and control the game, having Marky's capacity to do the work that he does and impact on both sides, and obviously what Ricky does, having guys like Victor who can step in and manipulate and take a game, right? Other guys who are stepping in, Sasha giving us this veteran presence. I think Daniel's really coming along this season to show that he's a player ready for this level. So we've got options now in the midfield, which has for me really helped us to kind of control games and be more consistent and more steady as we play through this final stretch.
When you look at the table, every year it seems to be it's always tight, but this year it seems to be tighter than normal.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
I do, and I was saying this early in the season. It was interesting seeing the results. Obviously, a couple teams get out in front of everybody else, but on any given weekend, as much this year as really any year, the results were strange. Teams that you would expect to win weren't winning. Teams, and so it just kept balancing it out, and it just kept keeping everybody sort of blocked up and together. And it was like all the teams on the same weekend that could take a step forward, they all lost on the same weekend, and it kept the group that was maybe down here up with the group. So it's just been an interesting year in terms of results. Teams, not a lot of teams have been super consistent through the course of the year in terms of results. A few have, which is why they've found the upper side of the table. But a lot of teams have found some challenges through the season. But I think that's the intent of MLS. That's what they want to see happen, is a lot of parity, a lot of teams having a difficult time. Going on the road is not so easy to get results, and so you see some bouncing up and down. But this year, I agree with you, the group has been pretty tight for good stretches of the season.
Having said that, what Damien talked about, it's been so tight. Does that add extra pressure for this game? I know you always want to win every game, but this one you can close it out and not have to go to Houston worried about if it's going to be a bad bounce or something.
For sure, that's the intent. That's been our mindset for a while, is trying to get results so that, again, we don't end up like we were last year with the last game being the game that we're trying to close things out. This puts a little bit more on this game. It's home. The crowd's going to be in full force. Everyone here is going to be expecting to see a result that puts us into the playoffs. And we don't want to go to the last game. So you can calculate all of those things, and for sure that puts a little bit of a little more into the day for us as a group. We understand that we have the backstop, which is Houston, but we don't want it. We want to make sure things get taken care of this weekend, and also that we continue the momentum and the sort of the consistency that we've had over the stretch of games.
You guys have bad luck on Fan Appreciation Day. I think you won one of the last 9, something like that.
Well, that's why this team is going to be different than the last one.
You got to change that, Greg.
And is there a thought? The other team, Ziggy's year when he left early and Dominic took over, and they had that stretch of runs where they were winning, and then they lose at the end to miss out on the playoffs. This team has missed on the playoffs at the last moment twice in the last 5 years or something. And in terms of the fans and all of that, how does that kind of play into not necessarily how you approach the game, but how you think about how you think about the whole scenario?
Yeah, to be fair, like, the past results and whatever else don't really have any impact on this game, in terms of it. That's why I say the growth of this group is getting results on days when you kind of need to get results, which we've had the last couple of games. We've always felt the last 2 games were imperative that we get results out of those games to position ourselves down the stretch. So now we have one more game in front of us. We've just taken these last 10 games one at a time, trying to focus on our performance to set ourselves up to get the result. So all of that other stuff is out there, but ultimately it's not going to change the game on the field. And so our group has found a different level of confidence. It's found a different level of belief, and we found a certain level of control. And there's there's a different sort of energy that can help us step into this game and just focus on our jobs and not worry about some of the other stuff.
I guess what I'm asking is, do you feel like you owe this to the fans?
Look, we feel like we owe this to the project, which is our fans, which is all of us who signed up for this, was to take the club that has been the greatest club in the history of the league back to where it can be competing for championships and on a year in and year out basis. So we do the work every day. We know the fans come to the stadium, spend their money, support us, and give their heart and soul to us. So I think what I would say, we believe we owe this to everyone who has been a Galaxy fan, is a Galaxy fan, plays for the club, works for the club. Everybody is contributing to every single one of these points that we try to get and to get ourselves into the playoffs. So that for sure is not lost upon anyone in this situation. And as I've said many times before, one of the last things we talk about is they always remember how you make them feel, right? And this is that moment where you can bring that extra special feeling back to the stadium, which is, okay, we're back in the playoffs, we have a chance to do this. And I don't think there's anyone who doesn't believe that this team in the playoffs has a chance to make some hay, right? So now we need to close out the season in the best way possible and deal with the rest when it comes.
All right.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate it.